topic for discussion now is congenital heart disease. Congenital heart disease are usually manifested early in the childhood, but most of the times they go unrecognized until they reach adulthood. Normally, these congenital heart diseases have have certain presentations which are present throughout the life. The manifestations present throughout the life, which include murmurs, cyanosis, particularly heart failure, arrhythmias, etc. Usually, heart failure, if it occurs right in the early childhood, probably it can lead to death, potentially fatal. And if patient survives with congenital heart disease, especially with that of atrial septal defect, which is not very dangerous, patients can live through it with certain manifestations such as this, like cyanosis, heart failure, murmurs, and arrhythmias. So coming to the in detail about congenital heart diseases, we have it usually presents during first year of life, and it is due to defective embryonic development without any obvious causes. Usually patients usually have a particular manifestation that is nothing but cyanotic heart defect. The important thing to know about this congenital heart diseases is if we actually know how the fetal circulation is present, then most of the congenital heart defects fall under this condition. Usually the fetal blood circulation is where the fetus does not breathe itself, right? So what happens is the oxygenated blood from the placenta is directly pumped onto the left side of the heart through a foramen called as foramen ovale. And also along with it, the pulmonary aorta pulmonary artery directly pumps blood into aorta through a hole within it is called as patent, which is nothing but ductus arteriosus. Okay, if there is a change from the fetal circulation to extrauterine circulation, that is after the birth, during this phase, if the change is not promptly happening, then this can lead to congenital heart diseases. Okay, so whenever there is the fetal circulation, if the changes from the fetal circulation to extrauterine circulation does not fall in proper place, then it can lead to congenital heart diseases. It is again of multifactorial etiology, which can be genetic inheritance. There may be chromosomal abnormalities. There can be maternal infections such as rubella. It can have various other diseases like diabetes mellitus, okay, and drugs such as valproate. When mother has used drugs such as valproate during pregnancy, fetal alcohol syndrome, advanced maternal age, that is mother has conceived at a older age, and various symptoms such as charge, Vactrel, TAR syndrome, etc. are also causing this congenital abnormalities of the heart, congenital heart diseases. Various congenital malformations include ventricular septal defects, atrial septal defects. See, heart actually is a single tube-like formation, and it itself folds onto itself to give rise to two different circulation pathways. Okay, if at all if there is no complete septation, or if there is any failure in the proper septation, this can lead to ventricular septal defects or atrial septal defects, or it can lead to atrial and ventricular septal defects where oxygenated and deoxygenated blood can mix. There is something called as patent ductus arteriosus. As we have just now discussed, the placental blood enters directly to the left side of the heart in the intrauterine life. Here what happens, the pulmonary artery directly sends blood to the aorta through ductus arteriosus. If there is a failure in closure of this ductus arteriosus even after birth, then it is called as patent ductus arteriosus. There is something called as aortic stenosis, pulmonary stenosis, mitral stenosis or incompetence, and coarctation of aorta. This coarctation of aorta is also one of the congenital heart diseases. What happens is, at the area of ductus arteriosus, if the aorta fails to develop into a new aorta by closure of after the closure of ductus arteriosus, if it is not developing into a complete aorta, then it leads to coarctation of aorta there. We have tricuspid regurgitation, and there is something called as Tetralogy of Fallot and complete transposition of great arteries. So this is a picture where we can actually see foramen ovale which is failing to close. This is called as patent foramen ovale. Here we can see coarctation of aorta in the next picture, where there you can see narrow segment of aorta there, and here we see patent ductus arteriosus where the ductus arteriosus from the pulmonary artery to the aorta is failed to close there. It has remained open. And this is a tetralogy of Fallot. In tetralogy of Fallot, the name itself says there is four important manifestations there, where aorta emerges from both ventricles and interventricular septal defect is present, enlarged right ventricle is present, that is right ventricular hypertrophy, and stenosed pulmonary semilunar valve is present. So these four comprise together to call as tetralogy of Fallot. And then we have various clinical features of these congenital heart diseases, and the most important one is child may be cyanotic or breathless. If they cry for a longer time or after feeding, they gasp for breathing and they become cyanotic. Okay, child may be cyanotic or breathlessness, and they fail to attain normal growth and development. Cerebrovascular accidents can occur, cerebral abscesses can be seen, central cyanosis can be seen in these patients along with digital clubbing. Pulmonary hypertension and syncope are other clinical manifestations of congenital heart diseases. So this is a picture which is showing clubbing, okay. And then we have persistent ductus arteriosus or patent ductus arteriosus. As we have discussed the pathology, normally they may not have symptoms for years. Patients usually manifest with retarded growth and development. They will have cardiac failure with dyspnea as a first symptom. Machinery murmur is a pathognomic feature of patent ductus arteriosus. We also have pulmonary artery enlargement. Here ECG is normal. Patent ductus with reverse shunting can be seen. Here what happens is when there is increased pulmonary pressure, okay, increased pressure, vascular resistance, increased pulmonary vascular resistance, which sometimes gets equal to the aortic pressure, pulmonary artery pressure, which will cause a reversed shunting. This is called as Eisenmenger's syndrome. It's called as Eisenmenger's syndrome. Okay, this is nothing but patent ductus with reversed shunting. So there is a picture clearly showing patent ductus arteriosus, where there is a direct connection between your pulmonary artery and the aorta. Okay, this is called as patent ductus arteriosus. And this is the coarctation of aorta, where we can see an indentation. Coarctation is nothing but an indentation where there is failure in proper development of the aorta after closing of your ductus arteriosus. Okay, this is called as coarctation of aorta. So what are the clinical features? Here, important cause of cardiac failure, and it can lead to headaches and hypertension because there is a narrowing of the aorta there. Because of the coarctation, the lumen there is being narrowed. There can be weakness, cramps in the legs, raised blood pressure in the upper body. Weak femoral pulses, systolic murmur is heard posteriorly over the coarctation. Okay, ECG shows left ventricular hypertrophy, and radiological examination shows a changes in the contour of aorta. There will be a pathognomic sign called 3 sign or indentation of the descending aorta, as we have seen in the earlier picture. There can be notching of undersurface of ribs, and MRI is ideal in identifying the coarctation of aorta. Next, coming to atrial septal defect, as we have discussed, heart itself forms into 2 tubes. Okay, it is a single tube which causes septation by itself. If this septation is incomplete, or if there is a failure of this septation, then it can lead to incomplete separation of the ventricles or atria, leading to atrial septal defect or ventricular septal defect. Atrial septal defect is most common form of the most common form of atrial septal defect is fossa ovalis, where we have the foramen ovale there. Okay, and in large defects, what happens? A considerable shunt of oxygenated blood flows from left to right atrium. It is mostly asymptomatic. Even we can hear a second heart sound, which is characteristically widely split and fixed here. So this is a picture which is showing atrial septal defect, where there is a connection between or incomplete septation between left atrium and right atrium. Okay, and then we will come to enlargement. It will show enlargement of right ventricle, enlargement of atrium can be seen. Other clinical manifestations, other manifestations include large pulmonary artery. There will be increased pulmonary vascularity there, and secondum ASDs, that is nothing but atrial septal defects, are well tolerated during childhood. We have 2 ASDs, one is primary ASDs and secondary ASDs. Okay, and antibiotic prophylaxis for isolated secondum ASD is not recommended. However, surgery or transcatheter device closure is advised for all symptomatic patients and also for asymptomatic patients where the QPS to QS ratio is at least 2:1. Then we have ostium primum defects, which is approached surgically in these cases. Next is ventricular septal defects. It also forms the same pathological manifestations. Again, the etiology is same, where there is incomplete separation between the ventricles. It is seen in 30 to 50%. Usually they close spontaneously in first 2 years of life. Okay, and there will be small muscular VSDs which close likely than membranous VSDs. Repeated episodes of respiratory infection in infants with large defects and heart failure is seen. There is a picture which is showing normal heart and hearts with ventricular septal defects. We can see a ventricular septal defect here, where mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood can be seen via the ventricles. Okay, and last picture, the bottom picture shows an alternate location of the ventricular septal defect. Now coming to large ventricular septal defect. This large ventricular septal defects usually have right ventricular hypertrophy, and they also have oligemic lung fluids. Oligemic lung fluids is nothing but pulmonary hypertension or an associated pulmonary stenosis present in this condition. There is a gross cardiomegaly with prominence of both ventricles and the left atrium here. Okay, and surgical repair is needed prior to the development of any reversible increase in the pulmonary vascular resistance. If there is increase in pulmonary vascular resistance irreversibly, then approaching surgically is very difficult in those cases. Okay. Then coming to tetralogy of Fallot, we have seen tetralogy of Fallot where the 4 important condition occurs. Here, patients usually manifest with cyanosis, and there is something called Fallot spell, where children, especially young children and infants, after feeding or crying for a longer period of time, they get cyanotic and they develop apnea, and then they result in unconsciousness. They go into unconsciousness. This is called as Fallot spell, which is commonly seen in tetralogy of Fallot. Normally, other clinical manifestations in this condition include stunted growth, digital clubbing, and polycythemia. Ventricular septal defect is also seen in this condition. We have pulmonary stenosis and something called as acyanotic tetralogy of Fallot is seen. Here, tetralogy of Fallot is present, but patients are usually acyanotic. This is most commonly seen in newborn kids or in patients with mild right ventricular flow. Okay, outflow, mild right ventricular outflow cases also we see acyanotic tetralogy of Fallot. We see overriding aorta in this case, and ECG reveals a right ventricular hypertrophy. A pathognomic boot-shaped heart is seen in chest radiograph in case of tetralogy of Fallot. Now coming to tetralogy of Fallot, this is a picture which is showing us a difference between normal heart and tetralogy of Fallot. Now coming to congestive cardiac failure. Till now we have seen various causes or various conditions of congenital heart disease, and now let us see about congestive cardiac failure. Congestive cardiac failure is a state actually where the heart cannot provide sufficient cardiac output to satisfy the metabolic needs of the body. So there is no enough amount of cardiac output from the heart. It can be because of inappropriate workload, or it can be because of loss of myocytes or compromised filling. It can also be due to any coronary artery disease or hypertension, cardiomyopathy, cardiac failure, or valvular heart disease. What are the risk factors that are usually associated with this congestive heart failure? In congestive heart failure, myocardial ischemia or infarct, dietary sodium excess, patients with excess fluid intake, medication non-compliance, arrhythmias, and intercurrent illness, example like infections, etc., can lead to congestive cardiac failure. In congestive cardiac failure, the conditions that are associated with increased metabolic demand like pregnancy, thyrotoxicosis, and excessive physical activities are again, it is usually associated with these conditions. Okay, and administrative of drug with a negative inotropic properties and fluid retaining properties like NSAIDs and corticosteroids can also provoke or can also pose risk for congestive heart failure. Alcohol, chronic alcoholism can again pose risk for congestive cardiac failure. What are the cardinal manifestations for this CCF, that is congestive cardiac failure? It is heart failure, which include dyspnea, we have fatigue and fluid retention, dyspnea on exertion, orthopnea, and we see paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, low cardiac output symptoms, abdominal symptoms which include anorexia, nausea, abdominal flushes, and right hypochondrial pain. These are various clinical cardinal manifestations of CCF. Another important feature is fourth heart sound, that is S4, usually heard at the end of a diastole. Unknown mechanism, and it could be due to any contraction of atrium against the stiff ventricle. Usually the skin in these cases is pale, cold and sweaty. Coming to types of heart failure. Heart failure can be of various types, which include systolic heart failure or diastolic, acute or chronic, and acute includes large MI, that is myocardial infarction or aortic valve dysfunction. It can also be high outflow output failure or low output failure. High output failure conditions include pregnancy, anemia, thyrotoxicosis, Paget's disease and beriberi or AV fistulas. And in case of right-sided heart failure and left-sided heart failure can also be seen. So what are the investigations to diagnose CCF? First thing, complete blood picture reveals anemia. We also can see hyperthyroid, chronic renal insufficiency, electrolyte imbalance can be seen in these cases, hemochromatosis and azotemia. ECG reveals arrhythmias and tachycardia. Chest X-ray will reveal pulmonary venous congestion, pleural effusion, and we also can see cardiomegaly in these cases. So how do we manage? First important thing is lifestyle changes. Adopt a good lifestyle, good dietary intake, exercise. Do not have a sedentary lifestyle. Ask patients to not to have risk of obesity. Diuretic therapy like with chlorthalidone and metalazone is useful. Potassium sparing agents will also be helpful. Inhibitors of renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, anticoagulants and antiarrhythmatics are also helpful in the management of congestive cardiac failure. So this is about congestive cardiac failure, its manifestations and how we actually have to manage with congestive cardiac failure. Thank you.